PEP Radio is a part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project that plays music, news, and weather, actively advocating for the LGBTQ+ and disabled since 2024.
PEP Radio, available on Live 365, Roku, Alexa, and at paquality.com.
Here at Gay SA Radio, we're very happy to welcome the Othering podcast to our airwaves. Catch the show every Thursday at noon CAT, bringing fresh voices and compelling conversations straight to you.
Head over to gsaradio.stream to find out how you can tune in and become part of our family. Don't miss it, only on Gay SA Radio, where you are family.
One man and one woman join forces to rid the world
What are you doing?
of inequality and fascism.
Seriously?
I'm trying I'm trying to do a promo here.
For whom? What are you doing?
Welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? All right, today we are talking to SC Nealy. She is a therapist and owner of an all-queer and trans-identifying therapy practice in Washington, D.C. that focuses on bringing therapists with lived experiences to the LGBTQIA+ population called LGBT+ Counseling Collaborative. They specialize in religious trauma work, and their first nonfiction book, Healing Sacred Wounds, will be published by Bloomsbury in fall 2026. Welcome, SC, and congratulations on the book.
That is so awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Sorry, go ahead.
You are already an established author, correct? With lots of best-selling books I've read.
Yeah, I am, but in a totally different space. My first 30 plus books were all romance novels.
Oh, wow. That's
Where
awesome.
did you get the ideas for your romance novels?
A little bit of everywhere. I think each of my books has a little piece of myself in it. I think a little bit of everything.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Is that something...
I have to really start to get creative after that many love stories.
Is writing, reading, and all that something you've enjoyed since you can remember?
Yeah, I've absolutely loved writing always. I started with poetry in grade school and kind of expanded and lengthened it over time. And then in my early 20s, I'd been laid off a job and was kind of directionless. I'm what do I want to do? And there was a Craigslist ad of hey, write this short story and we'll pay you $250. And I was all right. And then, I did that for them a couple times. They're have you ever thought about writing a book? We'll pay you for the book. And I was what? People do that?
Wow.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I started. I got right in when the Kindle took off. And so just really also lucky timing. And, did that. I did that for about 12 years before I've now first switched into nonfiction. This will be my first nonfiction book.
So what made you switch? Because for instance, sometimes, Mike wrote a non-fiction book with his brother, a couple of them actually, and he's been thinking about going into fiction. So what made you decide to go from fiction to nonfiction?
Well, I think that there are multiple answers to that. Of one, I felt I'd written all the stories I had in me at the moment, but also I think my writing was a therapeutic journey of my coming out story as well. And so once I was fully out and really living authentically, I wasn't really seeking from writing these stories the same escape that I had been when I had been in cis straight presenting relationships and still trying to look and appear that way. And so I just haven't had the same need or desire to write the fiction stories when I'm in love with a woman and I get to live that every day, So I think that has been a big part of it.
I think that is so cool.
Yeah.
And that, and I love your answer because it just kind of, that feeling of being free It changes your perspective, your thought processes, and everything when you realize that I don't have to pretend anymore. I can just be. And like, for instance, I know it's not the same, but like realizing that I was bisexual and neurodivergent and all that stuff, my dreams changed. My thought processes were just like, now that you know a little bit more about who you actually are, it made me happier. And, just kind of like the dreams that I did have, they were like strange. Like I had this weird dream of Santa Claus coming, and he had to collect all the cookies because they were in danger of being rotten and weird things like that. Instead of like, dreams of what am I going to do with my life, or things like that. It stopped, kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Was that kind of like how it felt for you when you were coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I think I came in and out like a few times, as I was like testing, do I really want to be like fully out and in different ways? And so I think it was a little bit of, I think I felt little glimpses of that each time until I felt like really fully out. And then it just, it felt like the world opened up for the first time. I think when the woman I love currently and I'm in a relationship, she's incredible. And it was like newly into that relationship that I was like, pictured myself growing old with somebody. Like that had never been an option. I was always like, I'll just probably die early because what's the point? I'm not going to grow old with a man. No offense, but
none taken. We all have our preferences.
Exactly. That's not what I want. And so, but it was the first time I could picture her and I sitting on a porch and like what that would look like and having grandkids. And I was like, I never had pictured that for myself before. And I think I told myself a lot of reasons why and tried to like explain it away in different reasons. But then the moment I was, actually happily out and in a relationship, I was like, oh wait, I could grow old.
And based on your therapy practice and what that focuses on, it sounds like you came out and you got very comfortable with it and you went with it. And that's great. A lot of people, I know they have troubles when they have troubles coming out. It's hard to really come to terms with it. So that's really great that you were able to get to that point.
Yeah, I think I knew that in coming fully out, I would have to, I come from very, very evangelical, strict background. And I knew that in order to fully come out, I would have to be okay with losing everything. Not per my choice, but per like that is what would happen. And so once I did come out and all that did happen and I did lose my family and everything else that went along with that, it was really just like, well, there's nothing stopping me anymore from, opening my business, being who I want to be, living the way I want to be. There's nothing else that is holding me back. So,
and you get to choose your family and you get to have a great found family. And I'm so sorry that your family doesn't want to take part of that. Because honestly, I don't understand that thought process.
Yeah.
It doesn't occur to me to be that way. But at the same time, religion just, when it gets its hooks in people, it just sucks them in sometimes. And I apologize. I just want to say that because
on behalf of religion.
Yes, because somebody needs to say that.
Yeah.
Because it has caused so much harm to so many different people throughout the ages, and it's ridiculous. And it's not to say that I follow religion, and I'm a perfect little angel and I'm going to church and all that stuff. I don't. Because I think in my purview that God is everywhere.
Yeah.
And what I do is between me and him.
Yeah.
Not me and you and you and you and you kind of thing. And so I apologize for them being so distorted that they're kicking people out.
Yeah. I hear you. That's actually a big goal of my book is when I tell people that I specialize in religious trauma or that I wrote a book on religious trauma, I get a lot of responses of oh, you must be anti-religion or you must be atheist or anti-God or whatever. And I'm anti-trauma. That's it. Right. And I think you can do religion in healthy ways. I think it's easy to do it in really unhealthy ways. But my goal of the book is to help people find the healthiest thing for them, whether that's deconstructing or staying in a religious setting. And I get frustrated with that black and white mindset, and also within the religious trauma community. Like there's a whole community of religious trauma therapists and things like that who really push deconstructionism and things like that. And there's a privilege to that, right? Of like, oh, I might have the option to leave a church, but I don't live in a town where the church is my entire community, and my doctor goes to the church, and my male person goes to the church, and all these things, right? And like, there's a privilege to being able to deconstruct that not everybody has,
Right.
and or that not everybody wants, right? Like if you come from more collectivist cultures, it's not an option to cut off your family and not be part of them, right? And so I think it does a disservice to like all of those other communities to just push like one agenda versus to say, you can be a religion, you can be spiritual, just don't hurt other people while you're doing it.
Right.
Like, what's that?
Yeah.
And that's what it should be, is that it's supposed to govern you, not what I think it should govern for everyone else.
Yeah.
Because I'm different than you. And that's okay. And that's what makes it beautiful. Because if we're all supposed to be, created in his eyes and his likeness, then why do I have to follow the same rules as you?
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
And it's not to say that, you shouldn't believe in Jesus or God or, whoever. But, that's, again, something that should be personal.
Yeah.
Not pushed on everyone else. And when it gets pushed on everyone else, that's when I feel like a lot of the trauma starts. Because either you didn't get to choose it, or it's just so strict that it kind of, I see why some people end up becoming atheists.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely hear that. And, I specialize mostly in like high demand, high control religions. And like, there's so much aspect of like systemic oppression that's required to like keep that going. And one of the things that is required to keep that system going is for you to also perpetuate trauma as well as being traumatized, right? And so like, when we're talking about like, oh, you should just be able to govern yourself with it, and it should just be about you. In a lot of these settings, you're actively taught, no, it's your duty to go out and evangelize to the other person. Like, you need to go save their soul. You need to go do this. You need to go whatever. You need to go push it on other people. You need to go make sure other people know that they're wrong and you know the right way. And so then as you perpetuate and hurt other people, you can easily start to either forgive or like not hold accountable the people who are hurting you too. And it's just this like cycle that is really, really awful.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
And, it just, I never understood that, why we have to push it. Because if it's, I think in terms of if it's such a wonderful religion, regardless of who, it could be Hinduism. If it's such a wonderful religion, you shouldn't have to push it on the masses. Show what it is, and people will flock to it.
Yeah.
If you have to push the, your ideas and all that stuff on the people, I think you're missing the whole plot.
Yeah, I fully agree. Fully agree.
And to me, it ruins it, because you're debasing the beauty of what it was that brought you to it. Yeah. And so, going there and saying, well, you're going to go to hell. For one thing, if you say that, my understanding was, I'll see you there, because you're not supposed to say that. It's just, why do we have to do that, especially as Christians? Why can't we be happy with what we have? And if somebody's interested, then talk about it. Then say, hey, I heard you were interested. You have any questions? Instead of saying, well, dummy, you see. And it just, I know they don't, come up and say, hey, dummy, but it kind of feels like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And
hear that.
I feel like it's just ruining everything that you're taught that he says.
Yeah.
And, there's over 1 billion Muslims. And I have never once been called, stupid or anything or wrong because of what I believe. They just said, okay. If they asked me what it was I believed, and they would just go on. They didn't stop and say, well, you see, this is who you're supposed to follow. And, I've had Jewish friends. Never once did they ever come up to me and say, see, this is who you're supposed to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely hear that. It's really interesting. I was having a conversation last night with my girlfriend about God and what we think like that means and the ideas of it. And, I also wonder, like, for example, you've used the pronoun he a few times with God. And like, I wonder if like, if a God exists in the way that we are told to believe that they do, like, would they even fall into the tiny box that gender is? Would they fall into the tiny box that quantity is, right? Like if you think of pluralism versus monotheistic like religions and things like that, like could you even put a number on God, whatever God is? Like does God exist outside of numerical value and gender anything? And I'm always like curious, how people feel about that concept.
I think that unfortunately, because of the time frame that I was raised in, it was always he. Yeah. Honestly, I think it's they, she, he, etc. Because if we're all supposed to be his children, her children, then how can God be in one box?
Yeah.
And I know that that'll piss off some people.
Bring it on.
But I don't care, because if we're all supposed to be a part of that, and that includes trans and non-binary, everybody, then God can't be one thing.
Yeah.
I think it's impossible. And, granted, somebody might say, well, of course it's impossible. He doesn't exist or they don't exist. And that's okay, too, to think that way. And that's the beauty of our thought processes, is that we can either believe that they are everything.
He gave us free will.
Right. Or we can believe that they don't exist or she doesn't exist. But that's, I think, what makes it more interesting than if we all say he.
Yeah.
Don't they, if I remember correctly, I went to Catholic school growing up. I was forced Roman Catholic. But if I remember correctly, they teach you it's a he. They always refer to him as a he all through school. Yep. And I'm assuming in your religion, they referred to him as a he.
Yeah. I grew up in like Southern Virginia area in a really closed off, evangelical, high demand, high control Christian cult of sorts. Like very much, if you can picture the stereotypes, right? Like we made our own clothes, our media, our books and stuff were all approved by the church. Like we didn't have television. I wasn't allowed to cut my hair as a woman or wear pants as a woman. Like all of the things. And it eventually there was infighting within the leadership and it broke up, which a lot of those scenarios occur when you have like narcissistic leadership and they break up eventually. And then my family left, I think it was like maybe 8 or somewhere in that range. And they left for Maryland and joined like a covenant sect. And that is just as difficult and strict and high demand and high control, but in more of like a mega church style versus the tiny, smaller community we had. And it when you go through those experiences and are raised in those experiences during a time frame in which your brain is supposed to be developing certain skills like critical thinking and all of that, and you're instead of being allowed to develop that, you're actively told, no, you have to be obedient. You cannot critically think. That's sinful. You need to be obedient. Then you have to do all that reparenting work and neurological development like later in life. And it's much more difficult to do that as an adult than when you have the neuroplasticity of a child.
Yes, it is.
So did your fiction writing come about as I know you kind of said it was a therapy of sorts, but was that also kind of a rebellion of sorts too?
Absolutely. I wrote about premarital sex.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. Those first few books, I was like, oh no, I'm going to get in so much trouble. But I was pushing through those like feelings of shame around these different things and what that means and exploring it. And like a lot of my books started more cishet romance. And then by the end of my, towards the most recent of my romance career is all like lesbian romance. And so just, that trajectory, I think I just was working on pushing my own rewiring of my brain throughout that time. And it was very helpful for me.
And
I could imagine.
like the fact that you brought in premarital sex, because
Yeah.
that is one of the biggest tenets that I always was told by my Roman Catholic friends,
Mm-hmm.
that it was always on them, purity culture.
Yep.
Gotta be pure for the man. The man doesn't have to be pure from you. That's his prerogative. But you, as a woman,
Yeah.
as the female, your whole worldview, your whole worth is tied to whether or not somebody has been between your legs.
Yep. Yep.
And I even though I say it crudely, it is that crudely.
It is. Absolutely. It's property like sounding.
And
Exactly.
it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's my vagina, not theirs. I'm not selling it, to the highest bidder. And if that's your kink, that's a whole other story. But it's
If you
just,
wanted to, you could.
yes, but that's your choice. It should be not based on whether or not your dad has the dowry or things like that. We're in 2025 now, and I know that they're trying to pull us back, but I refuse to go
Yeah.
quietly because
totally
it is so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
You lose so much art, music, and just intellectual thought by hiding people
Yeah.
and putting us in those cute little neat boxes. Doesn't really do anything,
Yeah.
because in order to to keep people who are AFABs
Yeah.
in those boxes of female, you have to then, as a male, stay in the box too. And what oppression does is that it not only oppresses the obvious oppressor, but it also oppresses the person who's doing it.
Yeah.
You can't move forward. You can't create new things because you got to stay back in order to hold everyone else back.
I think a lot of people also don't ask themselves like the bigger, longer historical questions and context around like purity culture, right? Of like the colonization that was enabled by that, and the different, hierarchical structures of like, once upon a time, we didn't have a paternity test, like that didn't exist, right? And so these kinds of rules were put into place to keep like certain land within a family, and, not allowing a different family or lineage to take over your land and things like that. And it was based in capitalism and money, and that's all that it ever was. And you mentioned dowries and things like that, and we are not in that position anymore. We do not live in that world, and there's no reason we're continuing to trade our bodies for those lineage in that way against someone's permission. I always ask them, like when I'm doing my religious trauma group therapy that I run, which I love healing religious trauma within a group, because I say, what is hurt in groups can be healed in groups, and your first group is your family and or your church. And so it can be really, really, really powerful to like specifically around this topic, engage in healing through a group therapy setting. But one of the things I often talk about, I'll poll people, and I was like, who here got a purity ring? And it's always the AFAB individuals. And unless you are a Jonas brother, there's no men out there with them. Like,
Right.
Exactly. And I'm pretty sure they didn't hold to theirs either.
no,
And
no, they did not.
and that's okay. I'm not going to I don't give a shit if you do or not. That's your body, male or female or none of the above. If that's what you want to do, all I ask is that you do it mindful of, diseases, so that you're not spreading stuff.
Sure.
That's what we should be teaching people, not abstinence only, because it doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely doesn't.
I mean, we had a whole national thing about that with Sarah Palin's kids. And,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
We've got to stop trying to, especially now in this day and age with so many podcasts and so much information on the internet. How honestly can you keep a populace down when they have so much access to information?
Yeah.
And I don't know about, you and various other people, but you can't suck the information out of my brain.
That is true. But I also think that we currently live in a time in which wrong information is purposely being fed through TikTok and Reels and all of these things that are purposefully giving people wrong ideas or pushing them into more extremist thinking or groups and things like that, that can be really difficult because, like, yeah, you have the widespread dissemination of information, but it's not all accurate.
Exactly.
And we haven't taught people how to critically think and figure out what is real and what's not. So,
Yeah, and we don't teach that until you get into PhD, EDD, all of those levels. That's when a lot of people start finding out, oh, you got to read between the lines.
yep. Yeah.
And I think that's a huge disservice. That should be taught from the get-go. For one thing, I bet you we'd have a hell of a lot more PhDs, etc., if we taught it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because then, like,
Free.
yeah. When I was going through my journey,
Yeah.
I fried my brain kind of thing. And I was smart coming into it. So not having that knowledge prior of being able to really read between the lines and understand what they're telling you without telling you
Yeah.
is a huge gift.
Yeah. I fully agree.
I have a quick question. It's a little bit off topic, but what made you start therapy in the first place? Is that something you had always wanted to do, or did that come about because of your experience and wanting to help people from there?
Yeah. I took like a Psych 101 course in high school and definitely really took to it and loved it a lot. At the time, however, when I went into college, I was very lost in my own identity and who and what I wanted to be. And so I did pursue psychology, but I pursued more forensic work and working in jails and in probation and like post.
Okay, hold on. You said the magic word.
Uh-oh.
You said forensics. I am obsessed with forensics. I love it.
Well, forensic psychology versus forensic science. So
I don't care. It's forensics.
Okay.
How was that? Like, briefly, I'm sorry. I just,
Yeah, that was what my first master's was in forensic psychology, and I really loved it in terms of how it helped explore more of the extremes of like human behavior and personality and trauma and what that looked like. And it was really impactful, like working in jails and things like that. But what I really came across as I was in the field is, first of all, forensic psychology degrees aren't clinical degrees. So you can't like do clinical work. So you'd have to go back and get a different degree to add in the clinical component. And I was realizing that more of the administrative and or advocacy part of things just didn't feel like enough. I really wanted to be like working clinically with people one-on-one. But what I was also really finding in a lot of forensic settings was a jadedness that I don't inherently understand. I am naturally a deeply optimistic person and believe the world is great and wonderful and everything will eventually turn out okay, despite all logic saying otherwise.
Yeah.
Somehow I still think that and believe that. I don't know why. But I really found and I was really young also. I was like in my 20s. And so I was also just like fresh and green off the block. And I was just like, everyone can be helped and we can make the world a better place. And a lot of the people I worked with and the more senior clinicians and people there were really were angry at me for that. And were very much like, you need to stop that. You need to meet people more where they're at and just understand that they're never going to get beyond this level. There was so much of that conversation of like, this is as good as it gets for these people. And I could not as a person, understand that or experience that alongside them. And I just really began to realize, one, I wanted to go back and do more clinical work because I believed with the clinical work, these people could find happiness. They could find a way to live in a community without, breaking norms and laws and things like that. And that there was just more to it than putting people in a box like that. And so then I went back a while later and got my clinical degree and really just did a lot more one-on-one with folks. And that coincided also with coming out more. And so really wanting to work in the queer population as well. So a little bit of a long-winded journey, but.
Well, I stopped you. That's fine. So it's fine because I am literally and thoroughly obsessed with forensics. I love it.
Yep.
Every aspect of it, I am in love with it.
Fair.
And you mentioned that you're, overly optimistic. And I honestly think that that's a beautiful thing. You're not one of those optimistic people where you just want to go up and slap them.
Thank you.
Because there are those types of people out there where you see them and you know it and you're just like, slap. But it's true though. I think they can do more. I think a lot of times, again, putting them in those boxes, not giving them the opportunities to maybe try and do better, being constantly forced into, those boxes and having to pay your time. And they come out and they want to go back. And a lot of times that's not talked about, at how some of them want to go back because that's all they know, or that's where the comfort for them is. So we're so interested in those boxes because it pays so much to the government instead of actually helping these people. And I believe that so many, there's probably a handful in there, no matter what you did or said, they're lost. But I believe there's a whole shitload of them, probably closer to 80%, that really could be helped.
Yeah, I fully agree.
And that the reason they're there was this stupid mistake they made as a kid. And they paid for it, and they need help to figure out how to not do it again.
Yeah.
And we don't teach them that.
We don't teach them that, but then we also put them back into a world that doesn't necessarily give them other routes or options, right? Like a lot of pathways to criminality involves like lack of resources and support and guidance and things in which they didn't have any control or choice in at all. And then we give them no further support and then put them back out into the world and expect them not to do the things that they know have helped them survive through these oppressive systems before. And it's like, well, if you're not going to change the system, then why would you expect one person to be able to go back into that system and suddenly they're different?
Right. Exactly. You perfect. Sorry. Because I have been dying to talk about that. And it is so true that if you don't change the systems that created the reason why so many people end up having to go criminal, lack of food, lack of clothing, lack of jobs, that is purposely done because the school to prison pipeline is lucrative.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we never abolished slavery 100% because, in the amendments, I can't remember which one it is offhand, but one of them is slavery is illegal unless they're incarcerated.
Yep.
So now you've got the school to prison pipeline so you can have your cheap labor. You don't have to pay them much more than a pittance, and nobody's going to get angry because, they did bad. And now you've got, a lot of money coming in and none going out because they have to be free, basically.
I definitely hear that. We were talking about that in staff meeting today. And it's there's just so many factors that go into these things that we're not giving people help with getting around. And then we're just blaming them.
I don't. Yeah, I hate that. I don't understand that.
I'd also point out that a lot of criminality has to do with community in the similar way that religion does too, right? Of you're part of a community. And if you think about gangs and the solace and community, that a gang provides a kid or a teenager who doesn't have community elsewhere, again, we're not helping with the structural issue around any of it.
Yeah, and even if you're in the church gang,
the church gang.
I just picture stuff in musicals where they're like,
it's a hymnal, but that's still a thing.
Yeah, they're dancing to the hymnals, snapping their fingers or something, wearing dickies, but
but cargo shorts.
Of course. But when you're in the church, you still, a lot of people still end up committing, crimes too. And
oh yeah.
And some of those are, in my mind, kind of worse.
Oh, for sure. I
mean,
a lot of people don't even recognize some of the crimes that occur that are sanctioned within the church, like financial coercion and theft. And there's forced substance use, all kinds of things. Obviously, the things we all hear about: molestation, sexual abuse, physical harassment, all those kinds of things. But like, yeah, there's a lot. They just get away with it because they're doing it for God reasons.
But, and then that brings it back to, why the hell are you following a God that wants you to do this?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Why would you be happy
Yeah.
with a God that wants you to exclude everyone, hates everyone, including you, because apparently he hates you too. Because like in certain, I don't remember which one it is, but in certain religions, it's like, I think it's Baptists. I'm sure they'll come at me for this, but it's like 85 to 90% of them are going straight to hell anyway.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you following that?
But don't worry, he made you in his image too. So.
But what the fuck?
Make sense of that.
It doesn't make sense to me. And maybe that's why, the whole thing just doesn't work on me. Yeah. But because the subjugation of women pisses me off. And how it's state sanctioned and church sanctioned across all of them pretty much.
Yeah. And
how, you're supposed to completely submit to men and purity this and purity that for the girls, not the guys. And it's frustrating. And I don't understand how you can reconcile that within your own soul.
I mean, I don't think people can. I think it is like convenient for whatever goal they're trying to meet, right? Because if you even like think and really like look and study biblical text, that doesn't even support it. Like, there are so many powerful women placed in positions of power within the Bible. Like the entire story of Ruth is an incredibly powerful story about female empowerment and what that looks like. And if you think about Jesus's best friend was a sex worker, like she was glorified by him and he loved her. And it's like, actually, biblical text does not support subjugating women. And the stories in the Bible where women are abused and hurt are seen as awful things. Like the Bible describes it as sinful that is occurring. And yet, here we are. People just choose to read what they want to read.
Yeah. How do you misinterpret that? How do you, like, for instance, we're not supposed to eat bacon, which God obviously didn't have some good bacon because there's no way that should be in there. And, you're not supposed to wear polyester. I get that. I've seen the polyester suits in the 70s. And yet people do that.
Yeah. Well, I think it all comes down to like how people are deducing information, right? Is like, did you decide what you wanted to believe before you looked for the information to back it up? Or were you looking at the information and deciding what you believe based on the information, right? And that is like a huge difference in what conclusion you're going to end up coming to. Because if you've already decided before you looked at the information, you're going to find anything to support that. You can find anything to support what you've already decided. And that is a big issue.
And how do you read that into that, though? Because, like, I read the Bible. And I remember reading a lot of those different stories. And, yeah, I did have a bias at first when I was reading it because, paying attention as a kissing it, oh my God, as a person, and unknowingly to me, neurodivergent made me kind of focus on that and notice those things within the world. And so when I read it and all that stuff, I'm like, wait a minute, what is this shit? This doesn't match to what, everybody keeps saying is supposed to be. And so it kind of, and I'm not saying it's not some good shit to read. If that's your thing, do read it. It's just taking those powerful stories of women and then taking those stories that are supposedly glorified, Samson and Delilah, and where Delilah's this horrible woman, or, King David thing where he murders Bathsheba and her husband and rapes her, and they're rewarded for that. How do you take those stories and say, yeah, that's what I want, and not the ones where it's men and women both coming together and creating a better place.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for you there. It doesn't make sense to me either.
I guess that's one of those things where we'll have to ask God when we die. What the fuck?
So I have a few questions about your practice, if you don't mind.
Of course. Yeah.
Do you accept only LGBTQ clients, or is that just the staff is all LGBTQ?
Just the staff is all LGBTQ. I will say the majority of our client base is as well, because, that is kind of a natural
Right.
thing to flock to. But we work with a lot of allies, particularly who have a connection to the queer community, like a parent of a trans kid or a queer kid or a spouse. We do a lot of work. If 5 years ago, if you were married and you went through gender transition, you were 98% likely to get divorced. And now the
Right.
divorce rate is down to 50-50, same as cishet couples, right? And so, we'll do a lot of work with the cis and or straight person in that dynamic and how they work through that to help the couple. Or any other thing. Like, of course, I have people who come to me just for religious trauma and have no queer background at all. But the religious trauma piece speaks to them. So certainly we allow everybody.
So I guess that leads me to my next question, not to interrogate or anything, but do you get much, I don't want to say hate, but crap because of being all LGBTQ, being so centered around religious trauma, and it's just kind of all unfortunately controversial nowadays?
It is unfortunately controversial. And I will also point out that we are 3 miles away from the White House. And so
Bless you.
given where we are located, we are also in a more hotbed area of being front and center to everything that's happening politically, and that so many of our clients are connected to politics or working on the Hill or working in government or things like that and experiencing firsthand what is occurring. And so that's been really hard. Like every trans client I had that was working in government lost their job within the first 2 months of the administration this year. It's been really, really rough. So do we get hate? Yeah, we get a lot of hate. And unfortunately, we didn't until this year. I got maybe a few Bible verses last year sent to me here and there via email, but this year it certainly has ramped up. We have filed multiple police reports when things occur. Last week we had somebody call up and sexually harass the people who were answering our phones and masturbate into the phone. We had a Christian nationalist van park out front on election day with a big sign saying "Repent your sins." We get still harassing phone calls. We get all of the Bible verses, still all the things. We try to stay as private as we can for safety purposes, but unfortunately, it is just kind of part of working within this community, is that there are a lot of people who don't want us to, one, help the community, but two, want us to be alive at all.
And I don't understand that at all. I guarantee you most of them never even read those Bible verses. They just clicked and copy and paste. Don't know what they mean.
You had said you're overly optimistic. I was really hoping your answer would be no, everyone's very accepting.
And it should
really
be that
thinking
way.
it was.
Honestly, it really should be that way. Because I don't wish anybody to go through what it's like being ostracized. Because you stand out and, you look different. I like to make this joke, if you haven't noticed, I don't exactly look white. But, and it's a feeling that I have had before that I don't want anybody else to feel, because it's awful feeling like your country hates you.
Yeah.
And I just think that if people stopped, copying, pasting Bible verses they don't even fucking understand.
Correct.
And, don't want to read the red letters that Jesus said, and, take that to actual heart and just want to be so hateful, maybe you're the ones that need to move somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be near immigrants, if you don't want to be near women, if you don't want to be near LGBTQ plus people, move. Do us the favor. Move.
Yeah. I can't imagine how unfun that place must be, though.
Yes. And the fact that where the hell are you going to find a place where nobody is an immigrant? Where nobody is black or Asian or Hispanic and all of that stuff. Good luck finding that. But please do. Leave us the fuck alone. Because we've always been here. We have been embedded in the culture. And we're going to always be here. We make things beautiful.
Fully agree. That's where art and culture comes in.
And it's ridiculous. Get a life. The rest of us have. Try it. It does really work wonders. And if you focus on trying to make yourself happy. I know I hate that term because it's like, well, all you have to do is just make yourself happy and depression goes away. That doesn't work. But I'm saying if you try and focus on your own life. And you focus on your own family and not at what everyone else is doing behind closed doors, you'd be amazed at how much happier you are. Who gives a fuck what people do? And if you're curious, join the club, come out of the closet, and ask.
I always think of how, like, during the Republican National Convention last year,
how Tinder broke.
And I'm just like, man, it's coming from within the community. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
I never understood that. Like, I mean, come on. You broke Tinder, people.
Grinder. They broke Grindr.
They broke all of them. Still. It's
wild.
If you have to do that and you have to hide, maybe you need to double, think about who you're aligning yourself with. Because the first people who go in any fascist regime are always the quote unquote undesirables, which is disabled people and the LGBTQ plus. And just because you think that you're a white man and you're a part of the LGBTQ plus people, but you've done away with the others, they come for you too. And the ones that are, like the little person who is trying to, I never remember his name because it's not relevant because he's just a little troll that works with Trump. And, is trying to do all of this white supremacist stuff. Ironically, not really being considered white if, you go by the standards of Europe. He's the one that had to punch, like, Elon Musk because Elon Musk was, like, diddling with his wife or something like that. Some shit.
Name's not important.
No, but Steve Miller, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make sure I got the right troll.
Fair.
But, he's a little guy. And the fact that, according to Europe, he would be considered a black person, basically. It doesn't make sense to me. Why are you siding with the people who would love to put you in those same areas that the rest of us would be in?
I think a lot of people feel like safety in siding with the abuser, right? Of like, well, if I'm part of it, then they can't get me. But historically, that's just never actually been the case.
No, it has never been the case. Not during slavery did it help you. Not during the Holocaust did it help you. Not during the Armenian genocide did it help you. None of those damn genocides that, started with Native Americans here, indigenous peoples. Being proximity to power only helps you for so long.
Yeah.
And then
that a lot in the Trump administration too. I don't know if you guys are like talking about politics.
Oh yes, I love it. But so please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, how many people tried to come up with him and then he turned on them immediately?
Right. A lot of people, and when you betray your people for that, they don't forget.
It feels like they do seem to forget, though. At least in this circumstance, it seems like somehow they keep getting away with it.
I think a lot of times, like at first they do, and then there's a point. And at least in history, there is a point where they're like, oh no. And because they try to come back when they realize that, oh shit, things are going down on me. Not sexually. And, and it's just not working. So I need to find refuge with my people all of a sudden. And those people will sit there and say, oh no, you sold us out.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your own.
Yep. Didn't forget.
And as much as it seems like people have forgotten right now, I think they will turn and say, I need to go back to my people. And those people will sit there and say, you screwed us over. You sold us out. Go find a pole.
Yeah. I wonder though what it's going to take to get us to that like point of no return this time.
I wonder that too. But, us AFABs and trans women and everyone else, I think we'll get there. It may take a long time, just like in Germany, it took a while, but we will get there.
I think we will. I think the sad part is all of us won't. And
that's the part that breaks my heart, is that some of us won't. But the best thing you can do is go down with a fight, because history will remember you as not just playing dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very fair.
And I personally would rather be in history books as, being a rebel than the one that gets forgotten.
Yeah. What is that quote? Like, I can't remember the exact quote. It's something like agreeable women never make history or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mike can attest that I am not agreeable half the time.
No, she's not.
Best way to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he loves me to pieces, and I love him. And, even though I am bisexual, and just because I am, in a cis hetero looking normative thing, whatever you want to call it, I am still an ally. I am still a part of it. And I'm going to fight for everyone's right to do what they need to do so that they can be secure. Because again, the feeling of a country hating you to its core makes you feel like you have no country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's not how anybody should live.
It's not. And I think like the propaganda is that it is the country versus a very small but loud group.
Yeah, it is. And I have to say again, and I'm going to always say this, that you guys are the reason that I keep doing this. You guys have saved me from that darkness that I was in. And you keep giving me a new name and a new face to keep going in my fight. I was going to fight for my kids, of course. And I'm going to fight for my family, of course. But it's nice to have a new person to bring with you and, raise up with you. And, I didn't have the best relationships with women growing up, but I'm trying to change that. And I want to bring you all with me, because it would be really nice if we could all be on the top and, of course, take over the world and have world domination and all of that stuff. But the good stuff, everybody gets chocolate when they need it.
So that made me think of a question. Since she's talking about community, since you started your practice and you've met people, been through similar things to you, do you feel like that's helped in your healing process? And on the other side of that, if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to, but do you feel like you need more therapy because you hear so much of other stuff? I always feel like therapists should need therapy more than anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely in therapy and have been most of my adulthood. And I think that any therapist not in therapy is a little questionable, for sure. Because I think it comes back to modeling for our clients, how to take care of ourselves, how to advocate for ourselves, and making sure we're doing the same work we're telling other people to do. It makes no sense to me to tell a client to do work that we're not willing to do for ourselves. I don't know who the top therapist is that we all see. At some point, there must be one person up there. But yeah, my therapist is incredible and I love her. And I also think therapists every day, we often talk about that we learn alongside our clients just the same they do. We try our best to be one or two steps ahead so that we can help them. But we do learn alongside them all of the time. And, in terms of community building, because we're such a niche focus in what we do, and that, we also are all within the community ourselves, and the community is small. Even though I live in the DC area and we have double the national average of queer folks here, it's a very, very queer mecca. And I love that, right? 14% of the population here is gay. And so that is wild compared to the rest of the country. but it's still small. And so like somebody I might see as a client might somehow also be related to me in another way, or somebody I see, out at the bar on Friday night, because we only have like a few of the bars around here that are, friendly for us or whatever it is. So there's going to be a lot of overlaps with community there, and, it has to be done carefully, but it's still really wonderful. And what community looks like is also so different in the queer world than I think in the cis het world, and how that is like, I have 2 children myself, and I love being a parent. But my family is like very unconventional. Like my best friend and I both decided to have children together, and we live a block apart, and we raise them together. And it's totally different than the heteronormative examples that my kids see in their classrooms and things like that. And people are often always trying to put us in a box and label us as like, well, you must have been like this at one point. You must have been that. And it's like, no, we're just 2 people who were figuring things out and exploring life. And, now we raise like happy blended families in different ways, and that everything can look at, anything can be normal as long as everyone's happy and healthy.
And I
that's
think that's
awesome.
actually quite like super beautiful, because it shows that sometimes the way to family isn't going to be, okay, mommy meets daddy, they get married, and poof, there you are. With a lot of poofing. And so that's not to say that that's not a beautiful way to come into, the existence.
I heard what you are.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to, but sometimes my mouth just works before my brain catches it. And so here I am putting all the euphemisms possible. That's a beautiful way to have a family. But sometimes having 2 mommies or 2 daddies or, 2 friends, I think that is so awesomely beautiful, because family doesn't need to always be blood. Sometimes it's gotta be, extra people outside.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all it can be. And we need to accept that all of those are beautiful. All of those, create happy children, which is all we should be looking forward to, is happy, healthy, well-adjusted children.
Yeah. Well, if you also think about it, the concept of like the nuclear family is a capitalist structure, and was not ever how like it was meant to be. Like AFAB individuals and birthing parents in collectivist cultures have like lower rates of postpartum depression and those sorts of things, because they understand the concept of like it takes a village to raise children. And then America, has pushed this nuclear family idea and made women do by themselves everything, and say like, oh yeah, if you ask for help, then clearly you are not a good parent. Like, and it's just like, I mean, you have kids, it's like, it's very hard.
Yes, it is.
Hard.
Yeah.
It's
You're
fucking
them a lot.
impossible sometimes. There are times, like I have joked about this, but there are times when I have wanted to kill my children. There are times when I have wanted to kill myself, jump out of a 2nd-story window. There are times when I've wanted to kill Mike. I've wanted to kill my pets. And the thing is that I don't, because I love them to pieces. But that's, and, I don't literally want to kill everybody. Well, yeah. It's
Parents understand.
yes, but it's hard to raise a good child. It's hard to not clash. And, all of those things are normal when you raise children. And we put so much pressure on, especially mothers, or birth parent, or, however it is set up, that, well, why aren't you taking them out to the park every day? Why aren't you feeding them all organic, freshly grown, plucked by you out of the ground, fruits and vegetables? And, why didn't you build their bedroom yourself? And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't do that without a village. And if we're supposed to be doing this all alone, then you're going to have to deal with the fact that shit ain't going to look pretty.
It's very true.
And
I definitely hear all the time, like from clients who are scared to have kids, and they'll be like, well, I don't know how anyone does it by themselves. I'm like, I don't know either. Or they're like, I can't afford it. And I'm like, I mean, you can get hand-me-downs. Like, you don't have to be rich to have children. I mean, there are a lot of issues within the world that in our country that like do make like medical bills and stuff like that wild. But like, I never bought my kids a crib, they slept with me. Like I got hand-me-downs from every neighbor possible because kids are only in it for like 2 days before they size out. You know, it's
Right.
like work as a team. Work as a team.
And that's what we need. Like, if it wasn't for Mike's parents and my parents and all this stuff, I'm sure I would be, you know, looking like some of those Barbies where the hair is kind of like half bald and sticking straight up in other areas and just completely and utterly crazed without them.
Weird
You look
Barbie.
like,
I think it's
you
what
look
it's
like
called.
that every
Yes,
day.
thank you.
We need to start wrapping it up, though.
Yes,
We're running out of time.
yes, because the crazy is out.
But before we go, do you want to let people know where to find you, where to find your books, anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I am most often on Instagram at SC Nealy, Nealy. Anyone can find me there, and I certainly post on there when books come out. But our website as well is the best way to reach us or check for appointments or check when the book comes out, and that is lgbtcounselingdmv.com.
And please follow her because she is awesome. I love talking to her. I could talk to her for weeks on end.
Do you do both virtual and in person? Okay.
We do. Yeah.
And that's cool too. Because like he needs in person, I need virtual.
Yeah, it's different for everybody for sure.
Yes.
I still do virtual. But
Well, yeah, no, but
I
you
would
need
prefer it.
and it's good to kind of have that option because I would panic. I have panic attacks thinking of going to an appointment sometimes. And so being able to do it from home helps so much. And
Yep.
for those who can't fathom or can't find the quiet space to be able to do it at home, because trust me, when your kids are home, it's really hard.
And you have pets.
Yeah, and you have pets that are going in the background. So it makes you sound like you're some heavy breather from the...
But anyway,
Sorry.
thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank
this
you.
has been wonderful.
Thank you.
so much for having me.
Anytime. I have loved this. All right.
Right.
I'm shutting up. Go ahead.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Othering Podcast by Mike and Dory. Please like and follow us on all of your favorite social media.
The Othering Podcast is produced by LoudCore Productions, graphics by Josh, and music by Jordy James.